Welcome to the City of Bakersfield Planning Commission meeting. This television broadcast is brought to you by the local cable companies, the County of Kern, and the City of Bakersfield. You can watch the rebroadcast of this meeting Saturday at 7 p.m. and Sunday at 10 a.m. The agenda for this meeting can be downloaded at www.bakersfieldcity.us. Presiding over this evening's meeting, Vice Chair Daniel Cater.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to call to order the November 16th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Bashir Tosh, Vice Chair Cater,
Here.
Commissioner Biddle, Commissioner Kaur,
Here.
Commissioner Coleman,
Here.
Commissioner Neal.
Here.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Agenda Item 2, Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for attending tonight's Planning Commission meeting. This commission provides an opportunity for public participation in the development process throughout the City of Bakersfield. The Planning Commission considers a wide variety of projects, including subdivision maps, zone changes, general plan amendments, and much more. When applications are received, the City Planning Division analyzes the request. Planning staff will present the facts about the project along with their recommendation to the Planning Commission, who will approve the item or make a recommendation as appropriate. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Agenda Item 3A, Public Statements.
Does anyone in the audience wish to address the commission regarding items listed on tonight's agenda? Please note if you are here for consent public hearing item 5A or non-consent public hearing item 6A, now is not the time to speak. You will be given an opportunity to do so at a later time. Seeing no speakers, does anyone in the, Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Non-agenda Item 3B, Public Statements.
Does anyone in the audience wish to address the commission regarding items not listed on tonight's agenda? If so, please step to the microphone and state your name. Seeing no speakers during public statements, Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Agenda Item 4, Consent Calendar Items.
Please note all matters listed under consent items do not require a public hearing and will be enacted by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of said items unless staff or a commissioner requests specific items be discussed and or removed for separate action. May I get a motion to approving consent item 4A?
So moved.
Commissioner Neal, may I have a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Kaur. Commissioners, please cast your votes.
Motion passes with Chair Bashir Tosh and Commissioner Biddle absent.
Madam Secretary, the screen didn't show the vote.
Do we need a roll call? Yes.
Oh, there it is.
Oh. The suspense. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Agenda Item 5, Consent Public Hearings.
Now is the time for consent public hearing items. Please note if an item is not removed by a commissioner, staff, or a member of the public, the commission will vote on all items in one motion without further comment. If an item is removed, it will be placed at the end of the non-consent public hearing items. At this time, I will open the single item on the consent public hearing items agenda. Does any member of the public wish to remove a consent public hearing item? Seeing no members of the audience, does any commissioner or staff wish to remove a consent public hearing item?
Vice Chair Cater, I would just like to note there was a memorandum prepared for this, so the recommendation would be to approve with staff's revised conditions.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Johnson. At this time, the consent public hearing on items not removed is now closed. May I get a motion to adopt staff's recommendation, a revised recommendation incorporating the provided memorandum on consent calendar public hearing item 5A?
I'll make a motion to approve with the revised staff's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Core. May I have a second?
Yeah, I would second that, but I was going to make the planner make her presentation as soon as she's prepared, but that's okay. So, yeah, I'll second the motion as it stands.
If you wish to hear a presentation, please remove the item, which we were past that. So Commissioner Coleman seconded. Commissioners, please cast your votes. Commissioner Coleman, did you?
I confirm.
All right. Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Sorry, I just have to say, motion passes with Chair Bashir Tosh and Commissioner Biddle absent.
Thank you.
Agenda item 6, non-consent public hearing items.
Now is the time for non-consent public hearing items. Before we begin, I'd like to explain how the hearing will be conducted. Staff will first give a report, then those in favor of the project will be allowed to speak. Those in opposition to the project will be able to speak after all of those in favor have spoken. Each side will be provided a 5-minute total time for rebuttal comments. Please note that is a 5-minute total time for all speakers during that period. Individual speakers may ask questions during their statements, but the questions will not be answered until the public hearing on that item is closed. If preferred, written comments may be given to the clerk, who will provide copies to the commission. Please be respectful of others participating in the hearing by not repeating the remarks of previous speakers and presenting any new comments or thoughts in a concise and clear way. Mr. Johnson, would you please provide us your staff report on item 6A?
Yes, thank you. This is a request for a conditional use permit, or CUP, to allow a recycling center within a state-recognized convenience zone for purchasing of California Redemption Value, or CRV, containers from the public. Project site is located at the northwest corner of Brundage Lane and T Street. It's kind of highlighted in that rectangular area where the recycling facility would be placed. And this is approximately half-acre parcel, and they would be placing a 40-foot metal storage container and a 10-by-10 pop-up shelter. Provide a little bit of background on recycling. CalRecycle with the state administers the CRV program. This really evolves around supermarkets, and supermarkets are defined by CalRecycle as a larger retail, such as Vons, Albertsons, Superior Grocer, that sells dry groceries, canned goods, and non-food items and perishables, and has a gross annual sales of $2 million or more, and must be identified in the Progressive Grocer Marketing Guidebook. So a convenience store is typically not considered a supermarket. And it's these supermarkets that establish what's called a convenience zone. And I'll get into that more in a moment, but supermarkets, according to the state, must provide an opportunity to redeem CRV items within a 1-mile radius of that supermarket. Again, that's what is the convenience zone. If they do not offer that recycling, they must pay $100 per day in lieu of recycling. Now, I know $3,000 or $36,500 if you're making $2 million a year isn't much, but there is no shortage of recyclers that would want to come into a convenience zone. Supermarkets can redeem in the store, but there's obvious reasons why they do not, and I'll get into some of that. Or they can have redeemed through a private recycler, which is what is typically seen throughout California. If you are a recycler in this convenience zone, you do receive a subsidy from CalRecycle, and this is what's called handling fees. And this is to promote a wider geographic dispersal. And the price of what you see right there per beverage container is 2022 numbers, which is actually down from previous years. And so roughly, if my math is right, that's about $1 for every 180 containers. But when you have a large turnover of containers, that does add up. In order to get handling fees, you must be certified by CalRecycle, which means your operation is open at least 30 hours per week, at least 5 days per week, and one of those days must include the weekend. And handling fees are only given to one recycler within a convenience zone. So if there's more than one recycler in the convenience zone, then the state gives no fees at all. A little background on how the city has addressed recycling operations. Prior to 2018, a lot of recycling operations, we didn't look at the convenience zone, and the majority were done through a site plan review, and it became a little bit of a problem. There was a lot of illegal operations popping up, and then City Council took it under advisement, and because of aesthetics, which they looked at the blight, the noise, the smell, the rodents, the crime, the shopping carts that were proliferating around these CRV recycling facilities, they considered them an attractive nuisance. And therefore, it went through several public hearings, and in the end, what was decided is that a conditional use permit would be required for a recycling operation, and only recycling operations within a convenience zone. So if you were outside a convenience zone, in essence, it would be a prohibited use, and therefore you could not apply for a conditional use permit. During this time, code enforcement also got involved, and we went through and identified all the CRV recycling centers around Bakersfield, and we took corrective action for those that were not approved, and for those that were approved properly, whether that may have been through site plan review, they would be considered legal non-conforming uses. So this convenience zone is established by an Albertsons, located on Brundage Lane. It has a recycling operation in sight, and this is located on Union Avenue. It is a stop and recycle. It was permitted in 2018 prior to the change with the City Council, so they went through the site plan review process, and they have a permit, so they're an approved operation. I would note they were receiving handling fees until an operation opened up at 401 Brundage that opened up illegally, and the state, whether they registered with the state or whatnot, but the state identified there was 2 operations within this convenience zone, so the stop and recycle ceased receiving handling fees. I believe it was August of this past year. We did identify that this operation at 401 Brundage Avenue, there was a complaint. Code enforcement went to investigate, and they did cease operations, so they are no longer operating at that site. According to code enforcement, although I could not verify in this time, that operator from 401 Brundage is the same operator right now that is applying for a conditional use permit at 600 Brundage, just really almost across the street. And so, but they're going through the correct permitting process this time for a conditional use permit. I would like to retract a little bit. Stop and Recycle can reapply with CalRecycle and receive handling fees now that the one at 401 Brundage is shut down. But I would note that if this is approved, this operation now would then again cease handling fees being issued to the Stop and Recycle. There are 2 findings that must be made when approving a conditional use permit. One, that the use is deemed essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare. And 2, it is in harmony with the various elements and objectives of the general plan. Some of those are laid out in the staff report. And when we were considering these findings, we took into account multiple aspects of the proposed operation. In looking at whether this provided a public convenience, staff considered feedback from the ongoing comprehensive general plan update. Planning has done extensive public outreach over the past 2 years regarding what the public believes the city is lacking and what the public wants to see more of in terms of different types of housing, commercial uses, and industrial type development. In all the feedback we've received, there's been no request for additional recycling operations. More recently, with this general plan update, the Brundage Lane corridor is now a delineated focus area in which the city's vision is to provide more opportunities and incentives for mixed-use development. In feedback from stakeholders, there have been no mention of the need for more recycling facilities in this Brundage Lane corridor. And the site that's being proposed is within this corridor. Additionally, the city's Economic and Community Development Department has done even more public outreach, and safe to say, with a major focus towards improvements in East Bakersfield. As part of their outreach, the community has not stated their desire for more recycling facilities. Therefore, staff determined a proposed recycling facility in the parking lot at this location could be contrary to this commercial corridor's orderly development. Staff also considered the size of the parking lot and whether it could accommodate the recycling facility. The depth of this parking lot is approximately 90 feet from the sidewalk to the fenced area that you can see by the orange cones in this photo towards the back. The proposed cargo container is 40 feet long by 8 feet wide by 8 feet tall. And when you add to that a 10-foot by 10-foot tent or pop-up shelter, it starts to encroach into the access points of this site. Staff does recognize that this isn't the only access point to the site, but we want to avoid situations such as what we see here. Again, this is in the greater Bakersfield area. However, this is within the Kern County jurisdiction, so we have no authority over this site. But we don't want cargo containers and tents blocking access points if we can avoid that. One of the issues that this could cause when it's other than just blocking access points is that there is a potential for queuing out onto the main road. And again, Brundage Lane is being a main thoroughfare. If people have to slow down to navigate around these items, it could cause queuing outside the project site, which is not what we want to see. Therefore, staff determined the proposed recycling facility could create traffic flow concerns both interior to the site and along Brundage Lane. City Council periodically revisits the topic of metal storage containers or cargo containers. The latest was a referral in 2020 where it was determined the current policy should remain. And that policy states that placement of metal storage containers within the city, except for emergency purposes or in conjunction with construction projects, may negatively impact the aesthetics of neighborhoods in which they are placed or discourage investment in permanent improvements in such neighborhoods. Metal storage containers may, however, reasonably be utilized to provide alternative permanent storage facilities if their potentially blighting influences and other potential adverse impacts are mitigated, and that's right out of the zoning ordinance. And one of those 14 standards we have for metal storage containers is that they shall be screened so they are not visible from public streets. These photos of a recycling center operation in Bakersfield show inadequate screening of a storage container in a parking lot. Same site, just different angles, and this metal storage container is visible from the street. At this time, the applicant did not provide the method of screening for which they proposed to screen the metal storage container on the Brundage site. However, to obtain approval to install a metal storage container, there is a requirement for the applicant to provide such information. So therefore, without this information, there is a potential for a negative aesthetic impacts of the proposed recycling facility utilizing a metal storage container and a pop-up shelter. This negative aesthetic impact is further amplified when recycling facilities begin to extend outside the designated recycling area. Again, this slide and the next few slides are from Bakersfield recycling operations. And they show how the operational boundaries of these facilities can creep into the parking lots and potentially put employees and customers in harm's way of automobiles. Bakersfield is actively addressing how to reduce an already high driver-pedestrian strike, and using parking lot open space for operations could be seen as counterproductive to reducing those. So here's another operation where you can see this one, actually, they've cordoned off a portion of the area and they divert vehicles away, or I should say to the side. This one here, although there's no vehicles, you can just see that they are congregated outside. So it does put a lot of customers and employees out into parking areas where there's a lot of driving and parking. This is another one where you can see vehicles that are in drive aisles, and the recycling operation is away, a little bit further away. Staff also considered whether this proposed recycling facility could create a use that is inconsistent with the character of the area. Although the proposed project site is located in a commercial zone, most of the surrounding area is developed as residential. There are single-family homes to the north and south, multifamily homes to the west, but there is commercial to the east. In 2018, when City Council amended the ordinance to require conditional use permits for recycling facilities, in part, it was to ensure that potential impacts associated with noise, smell, rodents, crime did not extend into residential areas. Referring back to this slide, it is important for staff to consider the operating procedures of the existing facility because that would be relevant in your deliberations. Staff, and again, so this is existing on the north, and then a little bit further to the southwest, you have the proposed operation. This operation is located, we did 2 no-notice inspections, and it is located outside of the parking lot area. It is within an enclosed area. You can see the screening there. During both site visits, customers were recycling bottles and cans, but the site appeared to be well maintained. There were some empty trash containers outside of the recycling area, but those were brought into the site or brought onto the site by individuals dropping off their recycling materials. These trash containers replaced shopping carts that were a nuisance associated with recycling centers, as noted earlier in my presentation. Additionally, it should be noted that City Council recently established a new ordinance that mitigates the number of shopping carts on streets, which is why you've probably been seeing fewer shopping carts on streets than in past. Staff also consulted with code enforcement regarding their involvement with the recycling operations. They stated there has been a slight downturn in the number of complaints since the 2018 ordinance revisions. However, they still receive calls for the same reasons that City Council passed the ordinance. Most of the calls are associated with a select few of habitual violators and dealing with recycling operations that open illegally without city approval. Since it was relevant to staff's analysis, staff asked if there were any complaints on the existing operation, and there have been no complaints since that operation opened in 2018. Therefore, in making its recommendation for denial of the proposed conditional use permit, staff concluded these items here. It's already located in a served convenience zone, and therefore it would become saturated with additional recyclers, and that is per Cal Recycle. And consequently, there would be no handling fees provided. Even if that first operator did shut down and this second operator opened up, they could not get those fees because they caused the first operator to cease issuing handling fees. So if there's 2 operators on site, there will be no handling fees, even if that first operator shuts down and it goes down to 1. There's been no public voice of a desire for additional or more recycling facilities. Maybe this is because of the availability of curbside recycling that we now have. The staff determined the parking lot is not adequately sized or properly to adapt to a recycling facility. Previous approvals that are in recycling, or excuse me, in parking lots are primarily in commercial centers where there is a lot more area to navigate. Staff believes this does not complement the nearby residential land uses. It has a potential for negative aesthetic impacts. We haven't seen what the concealment will be for the metal storage container. And then I'm not advocating for the existing operation, but noting that there are no complaints on that operation. And if it is true that this operator established an illegal operation that was shut down and is now just moving across, there is a potential that there is a history of potential complaints that could arise if another operation's opened. And it wasn't really the intention of City Council in 2018 when they limited where recycling operations could occur within this convenience zone to saturate the convenience zone with all recycling operations. The intent was to more limit it and then provide the ability for, in this case, handling fees to be issued to an approved recycling operation. So now if the applicant wants to reapply with a design that is more innovative and located in an area that would reduce potential conflicts between vehicles and those on foot, staff would greatly reconsider its position. But based on the proposal submitted, staff is recommending denial. It is also important to note that the applicant was advised early in the process of staff's recommendation, and the applicant chose to have the request considered by your commission. This completes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the project? If so, please step to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed.
Vice Chair Cater, if I may. So just to clarify, if you're going to speak in favor, it's meaning those that want the recycling center approved.
Thank you. Thank you. Please identify yourself and proceed when ready.
My name is Rebecca Dalton. I'm with Ethosphere Studio. We're the architectural firm representing the client. Did everyone receive a... Okay. So I'd like to take the time to appreciate this opportunity to address and clarify the concerns raised by the staff report. We did have some comments below addressing some of the concerns. The staff report timeline mentioned concerns with the impacts of recycling centers, including aesthetics, noise, smell, rodents, crime, and empty shopping carts that recycling centers have had in the past. And our response to that, the staff report describes the site characteristics currently at 600 Brundage Lane as the following. To the east is a vacant dentistry office, to the south is vacant land, and to the west is a canal. These existing conditions already create an opportunity to allow the aforementioned concerns that surround the recycling centers. The site already has some of these concerns and empty shopping carts, crime. Having a recycling center here could present and help mitigate some of these issues. Utilizing the space properly could allow for more community accountability. There will be staff available on the site that operate with proactive management practices and adhere to local regulations and can act as a proactive member of the community. This can be an opportunity to reduce current concerns and mitigate their impact on the surrounding neighborhoods. The second staff concern, the staff report points out a list of operating recycling centers located within the city of Bakersfield. In reviewing this list, you noted that some of the recycling centers serve multiple convenience zones. Additionally, the list contains recycling centers that may be operating without necessary city approval. Our response to that, we would like to point out that we have received confirmation from CalRecycle that 600 Brundage Lane is located within 2 convenience zones. There is an attachment on this document. We would like to point out that the 2 convenience zones was Albertsons at the 1520 Brundage Lane and also Super Grocers, formerly known as Food Max, at 1115 Union Ave. So we are currently in those 2 zones. The staff report's concern only specifies 1 convenience zone location, which is Albertsons. The concern is that this convenience zone is already oversaturated with 2 recycling centers, leading CalRecycle to discontinue providing the handling fees. The Albertsons convenience zone, as mentioned, is served by Stop and Recycle, located at 349 Union Ave, and the formerly Rivera Recycle, which is no longer operational at 401 Brundage Lane. So currently, the Albertsons convenience zone has one recycling center operational. That same Stop and Recycle is also operating in Super Grocers convenience zone, so they're operating in those two. And in that convenience zone is another recycling center, A&C Recycling Center at 727 Baker Street. So that second convenience zone already has two operating. I'm not sure if that means that Stop and Recycle already has not, can't receive handling fees in that convenience zone. Stop and Recycle is located in those two convenience zones, as we are. They are already serving in both zones along with another in the same convenience zone. If the CUP is approved, we will be in the Albertsons convenience zone along with the Stop and Recycle. We included a map to show the vicinity of our location that we got from CalRecycle's website. Therefore, the applicant should not have an issue with oversaturating these convenience zones, using the example that the Stop and Recycle is operating the same way. However, the handling fees will be impacted. I would like to point out that the staff report mentioned that. The applicant indicated they intend to apply for handling fees once the CUP is approved. Our applicant has no intention to apply for handling fees and understands that they would not be eligible to do so in the current convenience zone due to CalRecycle's qualifications for collecting handling fees. If this denial is based on the fact that it affects handling fees, CalRecycle mentions that the handling fees are only meant to be an incentive to promote a wider geographic dispersal. It is a perk, and CalRecycle disclaims that it should never be assumed as indefinite or an entitlement. A person will need to still apply every 2 months if eligible, and CalRecycle highly advises for a recycling center operator to develop a business plan that does not make them solely reliant on a handling fee payment. There's the third staff concern. The conditional use permit shall be granted only when it is found that 1, the proposed use is deemed essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare, and 2, the proposed use is in harmony with the key elements and objectives of the general plan and applicable specific plans. Our response to that, we took a quote from the City of Bakersfield website. The City of Bakersfield has launched its Clean City Initiative in an effort to improve the look of our city and the equity of life of our residents. The proposed recycling centers initiative aligns with our city's ongoing programs aimed to enhance our community's well-being, especially in areas requiring immediate attention, known as hotspots. The site is in a C2 zone, which is described in the city zoning ordinance as to provide a large scale of operations and broad range of goods and services that serve the metropolitan area. This proposed location is also adjacent to an R1 and an R3 zone that we believe could benefit. Referencing the previous map, there are no operational recycling centers on the west side of this convenience zone. This location can contribute to the dynamic range of goods and services provided to this community and can offer more convenient resources that promote community welfare, which is essential and desirable. There is a notable amount of pedestrian activity along Brundage Lane. These activities raise the aforementioned concerns such as aesthetics, noise levels, odors, rodent presence, crime rates, empty shopping carts, as well as the likelihood of illegal dumping or littering, all of which align with the initial concerns associated with recycling center sites. By introducing a recycling center in this area, we aim to address and mitigate some of these negative impacts and concerns. Our intention is to foster community engagement and promote accountability among residents. Additionally, establishing this resource in the vicinity would offer public convenience while simultaneously creating local job opportunities and attracting more of a positive business to the area. The current site is spacious enough to accommodate this recycling center without disrupting any existing traffic flow or current business use. The storage container can be maintained well and designed to harmonize with the appropriate aesthetics of the area. Taking inspiration from the Keep Bakersfield Beautiful, traffic control boxes, the murals initiative. We recognize an opportunity to uplift this community and celebrate the local mural artists with the metal storage unit or the screening process. So we think this location will help alleviate our city's recycling demands and will encourage its community responsibility that align along with the City of Bakersfield community goals for a cleaner and healthier environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor of the project? If so, please step to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed.
Hi, my name is Adriana, and I'm here to support Alberto and also Jennifer on the project that we're here on 600 Brandish Lane. I would like for them to have the service for us, for our community. Also, like we're saying, we're thinking about it to have a more clean environment. Also around where we live, I live close by there. And that would be a good project that we're planning. It's closer to where I live. There's a lot of people right there on our neighborhood. And it's the other places, the other recycling, it's a little bit far where we live. And there's a lot of people walking through there, and I think it's a nice place for there because there's a big parking lot space in there for the cars to come in and back and forth in the convention store. And I'm here for them to support them, both of them.
Ma'am, can you give your last name for the record?
Excuse me?
Your last name for the record?
Gutierrez. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor? If so, please step to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed.
Good evening. My name is Conrad Munoz. I'm here to support, I don't even know his name. I met him at the other spot he had, but he seemed like a good guy. Every time I go to sell my cans, he have a clean place. So I'm here to support him. And I also see a lot of people pushing, homeless people pushing cans, like the one way down there. So I think it'd be a good spot right there. I live on the apartments next to the store, so I think it'd be a good spot. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers in favor of the project? If so, please step to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed. Okay. Seeing no additional speakers in favor, I would now like to invite any speakers in opposition to the project to please step to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Salondra Medina. I came to represent Stop and Recycle and to support what Paul Johnson says on his speech. We opened the recycling center after we got the city license and the state license. We have been serving the area for several years, and only one recycling center per convenience zone is enough to serve the community and to qualify for handling fees. So we are serving that area, and we are covering the zone. And if they get the permit, either they or us wouldn't get the handling fees, and it's going to be oversaturation of recycling centers. And that's all. Thank you for listening. I hope this be helpful for your resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other speakers wishing to speak in opposition? If so, please step to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed. Thank you.
Hi, my name is David Fuentes, and I oppose to this project. I have a business that's literally right behind it at 21 T Street, which is on the map. It's just north of where it says C2. And at our business, I have a motorcycle and ATV repair shop. And there's already a bunch of people that go to that store that park in front of us, and then there's no parking for us. A lot of those people just go there to drink. And now with this recycling center there, there's going to be probably a lot more of that. Because every day at 401 Brundage, where Jennifer Rivera Romero had this business illegally, every day there's people that are drinking. If you go there, they're drinking right now. So a lot of people just go to recycle there. to get money for beer and just drink there, and they don't leave for hours or till night. And the owners of that store at 401 doesn't say anything. They don't kick them out. And I think the same thing's going to happen at the store that's right by my building where I do business. And not only that, I think there's going to be a lot of smell and rodents and noise, and a lot of people parking in front of my business. I think it's gonna push away my customers to go and try to do business with us. And another thing is, I think that would lead to more crime where we're at, for people trying to steal. We deal a lot with aluminum wheels and batteries, and we have gotten those stolen already for people to recycle them. And I think the crime there's gonna go up with this place there even more. I think that'll be all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers in opposition to the project? If so, please step to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed.
Hello, my name is Otoniel Lujano, and I'm one of the workers there where the guy came up with right now, David Fuentes. And we were just concerned with the recycling center that was just going to be around there. We do have occasions where there's a lot of, like homeless people walking by, and they're trying to like open the cars of the customers we do have. And then there's been times where he has little ATVs outside as well, and they tend to go inside. And I've gone outside, try to get them out, and it's very difficult, because they just don't listen at times, and you can't do much about it. You call the police, they don't come here in time. By the time they do come, they're already gone, And we're just scared that with this recycling center, it's going to attract more of that. Also, we're just scared as well that it's going to attract more rodents to the building that we do already have. We recently just moved there, and we're trying to get rid of that. And then with parking as well, it's very small in there. Our shop is very small. There's a lot of people passing by as well, homeless people, and then which just sometimes they don't move out of the way or backing up. We just scared to hit them as well, and yeah, that'd be it.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers in opposition to the project? Seeing no additional speakers in opposition, does any commissioner have any questions for the public or staff on this item? Remember, this is not the time to state your opinion on the matter, only to ask questions. Commissioner Neal.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for your statements. I have a couple of questions for the existing recycling center. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Can you please come back to the mic? Hi.
Hi.
So my question is, do you feel that collection of the fee is imperative to the survival of your business?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I need those fees to keep going with the business.
How long have you not been receiving fees?
It's just 2 months because they open illegally. So they got their license for the state, but not for the city. So they cut the fees. Once they close, they're going to return the fees. But if they open again, they're going to cut the fees again.
Got it.
Yeah.
Do you know when they opened?
No, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you do at your site to keep homeless or people from hanging out there?
We just tell them to leave the materials and go away. They can be there in the area. If they permit in the area, we don't buy to them, so they can stay there. They know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you get people trying to hang out?
The staff that is in there, they told them just to, okay, leave your materials and go away.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only questions I had for you. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
And for no, that's all.
Okay.
I can Okay, for the other side, can I ask questions to maybe the lady who presented, representing the applicant? So, do you know anything about the pre-existing site that wasn't approved by the city?
Well, at the time, no. So we tried to apply for a permit in July with our client, and I believe that site had too much site improvements. It was required to repave the whole parking lot. But when we did go visit that first site, there already was a community there that would utilize the parking lot. So they were for it because they wanted a nice parking lot. But so after that happened, we had to refund the previous CUP because they couldn't go through with it. It was denied if we couldn't do the parking improvements. So we are actually waiting for the refund from that CUP to be able to continue with the second application. So that took some time to apply. And then I believe there is just bad timing with the planning and building. And so it took actually from the beginning of the year till now to get in the building department.
So how long was the business operating without city approvals?
That I'm not sure. Can I bring the owner up?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, the owner is here.
Or the owner of the
Yeah,
recycling.
Okay. Hi, good evening. So can you tell us about how long the facility was operating without the permit?
I was operating without permit just because of the reason that I had contract with the owner of the place. So if I would be out working without permit, I couldn't afford the rent. Rent was $1,100 a month. So that's why I opened it up without permit of the city, and I was working there for like 3 months.
Okay, let me stop you. When you say the owner of the place, you mean the owner of the parcel?
Yeah.
So the
liquor
owner of the
store.
liquor store?
Yeah.
Got it.
But he really don't know because I was telling him that I was just waiting to get my refund. So at the time when I got my refund back is when I stopped buying cans no more.
So were you receiving any fees from the program for your operations for those 3 months?
I didn't because when Second Recycle opened up in a convenience zone, not even the first one, and the second one, they cannot get a handling fee no more.
So is the survival of your business, is it imperative to receive the fees? Because you're operating for 3 months without them, right?
Yeah, that's something that I would like to speak about if you let me. She said that she depends on the handling fees. That's what she said right now, right?
I'm sorry, can I ask the city attorney? This is the time to, I'm
This
sorry,
is
this
just
portion of the,
Okay.
is
Okay,
just
I'm
for
sorry.
answering
I
questions.
just say if you
I
let
would
me.
like to let you know
no
that
problem.
there will be a rebuttal period, in
Yes.
which time you are more than welcome to
problem.
state anything you'd like.
And just to clarify, if you can give your name and last name for the
My
record.
name is Abner Rivera.
And so I'd welcome
so-
you to answer questions, and then there will be a time for you
Okay,
to provide
so-
rebuttal.
So the
Yes.
answer to the question was?
3
no.
months. I've been up there for
But
3
the
months.
answer to the question is that the survival of your business is
Of
not
course.
reliant on
Of
the
course.
fees.
Of course.
It is or it's not?
It is survivable.
You can survive
Of course,
the business
without-
without the fees.
without the
That's what I
fees.
was asking. During the 3 months that it stated that you were operating without the city approval, was trash or homeless or crime or anything like that an issue where you were operating? Because it was just what, 2 blocks down?
I mean, trash is all the time. You always pick people left trash in there, but you gotta have a system to clean that up, you know. But crime or like you ask for homeless people. There's homeless people right there that like I believe those people are the ones who give us business, you know. That's what they do for a living, pick cans. You know what I'm saying? So you deal with that every day.
So
But-
did you find that they were trying to hang out at the business?
No, they don't hang out there. But when I start working out there, it was already people in there. You know, I don't know if you understand what
People
I'm trying to say.
hanging out in the
Hanging
parking
out,
lot
hanging out in
already?
the parking lot already.
Okay.
At the time when I find out that people right there was drinking and smoking and stuff, is when I realized that I have to move from there.
That's at the 400 block of
Yes,
Brundage.
that's at 401 Brundage Lane.
So what made you select the 600 block of Brundage?
Because it's close to the oldest location, and then it has a way more space, and there's no people hanging out drinking like the other location.
It was noted that there's no screening plan in the application that you submitted. What do you have? Do you have a screening plan? Why was that not included?
I don't get it.
Yeah, we didn't include it in the plans, but if we do move forward, we have a plan for that.
Enough for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Commissioner Coleman. Commissioner Cor? Yeah, you can go for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Corcoran.
I just had a question for the architect, actually. I see that you have addressed a lot of staff's concern in your the program that you have provided. My question is, do you have any plans for any of the traffic plans or where the facility is going to be and how you're going to be mitigating all the traffic that is coming in?
So on the, here, let me pull up the map. So on the east side, there's two drive approaches. And then on the south as well. So we were thinking of utilizing the north, I guess, of coming from east. Those two parking approaches.
Can I ask the staff to pull up the map? Is it
Oh, yeah.
possible? Or in the presentation? Yeah, I think they'll help.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So yeah, currently there's 3 entries. We've noticed that the 2 on the right side of the property or the east side of the property are more used, and then the exiting where the storage unit would be. So we thought that that flow would be a nice way to get in and out if we can create some kind of program. But it's not shown in the CUP. But if we move forward, we can be able to design that portion to better show it.
What is right next to the liquor store? Is that a yard or
On the
right behind the facility
left?
where it's going to be on top north
On the,
or west side, northwest side?
Mr. Johnson, I think the next plan is a site plan, if I'm not mistaken. Could we see that slide? Yeah, that's a little bit more.
Okay. So behind the fence line. Yeah.
oh yeah, I believe that was the back part. Are you talking about the
Yeah.
behind the fence? I'm not sure what that's currently used for. I think that was storage, or maybe for the other business.
Where's the entrance to the empty yard? Is it going to be from this parking lot? Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair Cater. My question is to staff regarding this question about the 2 convenience zones, and how does Cal Recycling address that? Because it is possible to have two large grocery stores within a mile of each other. So can you talk a little bit about that, please?
No, absolutely. And some of this will answer Commissioner Neal's questions too, is that I may have mentioned that Cal Recycle does not consult with the city when they approve recycling operations. In converse, we always consult with Cal Recycle to make sure where it's located within a convenient zone, because we don't rely strictly on our data. We rely on Cal Recycle to establish that convenient zone. Recycling operations can be in two convenient zones at the same time. That's not an issue. That's recognized by Cal Recycle. I would note here, and this just came from Cal Recycle this week, is that Stop and Recycle, which is the existing one on Brundage, does serve two different supermarkets. And as we noted on this one, it does serve Albertsons, and it also serves, as the applicants, Ms. Dalton noted, it serves the Food Max on Union Avenue. So Stop and Recycle serves two convenient zones. The data that we have shows Stop and Recycle, although we permitted it in 2018, it was recognized by Cal Recycle on March 1st, 2019. And when we're looking at the Albertsons convenient zone, on June 12th of 2023 is when the Rivera's Recycling opened. Cal Recycle gives 90 days notice to the existing operator that they're going to lose their handling fees. So it would have been mid-September of 2023 that Stop and Recycle lost their handling fees for the Albertsons. If you go back to the Food Max on Union Avenue, the one that was addressed, again, Stop and Recycle was recognized by Cal Recycle on March 1st, 2019. A&C Recycling Center number 2 is on Baker Street. That opened up without permits from the city on March 20th, 2023. So mid-June of 2023, they would have lost their handling fees for that convenience zone. And then when Rivera's opened up on 401 Brundage, June 12th, 2023, that puts 3 recycling operations in the eyes of Cal Recycle operating within that convenience zone. And so, and as what was kind of noted too, is that if Stop and Recycle is in this convenience zone and they're receiving handling fees, as soon as that second operator comes in, and I'll just use for an example, A&C Recycling, then Stop and Recycle loses their handling fees. If Stop and Recycle were to shut down and move somewhere else and only leave A&C Recycling within that convenience zone, they do not receive handling fees. They are banned from receiving handling fees. So that's why it was noted by this, the current operator, or the one that's proposing this one at 600 Brundage, why he will not be getting operating or handling fees. Even if he applied, he would not be receiving handling fees from the state. That answer your question?
Yes, it does. Could somebody tell me how much fees we're talking about?
And again, it was in my presentation.
I didn't hear an amount. I heard an amount I wanted to question you about. Did you tell us that they currently pay $1 per 180 containers?
They get 0.00557 cents per beverage container redeemed.
That's how much they get from Cal Recycle.
From Cal Recycle. So that's about, if my math's correct, and these operators can confirm everything though, if my math is correct, that's about $1 for every 180 cans. But when you're receiving potentially thousands of cans, that does add up.
Okay, I was confused by that number that you said. I thought they were paying $1 per 180 containers. So they're actually receiving that amount from Cal Recycle if they're eligible for that.
That is correct.
Okay. And then can you put up the map again about how far these two are from the Albertsons that we're talking about?
Stop and Recycle is on that borderline of a mile. And the proposed one, if I recall when I did my math, is closer to 3/4 mile.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman. Commissioner Neal, do you have any? Yeah. Mhm.
And looking at the same map, there are none on the west side of Albertsons.
None that are permitted.
Okay, got it.
Thank you. I have a few questions for staff, potentially for the applicant. So beginning with staff, can you clarify the 2018 motion and ordinance that was codified by the City Council? I'm trying not to say an opinion, so about but essentially, that the result of that was limiting recycling centers to convenience zones and requiring a CUP regardless of zoning. Was that the extent of what we as a city require?
Yes, so, and again, that went through several public hearings. It went through our Planning and Development Committee, which is a 3-member portion of the City Council. They gave some direction. We brought forth some draft revisions. Your commission at that time required agreed that it should only be within a convenience zone, and you required a conditional use permit in all commercial zones, in all industrial zone, in all commercial zones. In industrial zones, your commission made a decision that it would be allowed through a site plan review process, no conditional use permit. This went to City Council, and they disagreed, and they required a conditional use permit in all commercial zones and all industrial zones, except for the M3 zone, which is our most intensive, where we don't necessarily want this type of operation anyway.
And so the conversation centering around the density of these recycling centers, is that really coming from from Cal Recycle and not really a city mandate? Like has council specified the quantity and density?
No, they did not specify there would only be one recycling operation because, again, through a conditional use permit process, and again, as I mentioned in my closing comment, if this was a more innovative design, maybe at a different portion of this site or at a different location, maybe staff's position would change. But right now, we feel that this is not necessary, but there is no requirement that only one be provided for convenience zone.
Okay, thank you. And then my next question is actually for Ms. Coramendi. It was regarding, if we could pull up the site plan again, I think it's the next slide. General question, can you remind me on the road designation of Brundage at this portion of Brundage Lane?
Brundage Lane is an arterial, I believe.
And so if we're looking at the ingress and egress along Brundage, am I correct in that the access point at the southeast portion of the property would not be a permitted access point should this be built by today's standards?
Correct. Yes, you're right.
And so then I had a couple questions about siting. And so has this gone through any traffic review, or does that happen after the conditional approval is granted?
Our Public Works Department has reviewed everything, but the application really needs a little bit more vetting. Again, I'm not sure that this is really to scale of how this is going to impact. And then, again, on some of some of the other recycling operations that I demonstrated, that these do encroach out into the parking area.
And so then a question for City Attorney, just because have we seen a CUP recently? It feels like it's been a while. I missed the last 2 meetings and it feels like freshman year all over again. I apologize. There's been some conversation about enhancements or features that could be added to the application. Does this process that we're engaging in tonight allow those verbal commitments to be a part of the process?
Yes, it does.
Okay, perfect. And then a question then for the applicant. Is a screening element and some sort of protective element, is the applicant open to including that as part of the proposal?
Yes.
Okay. And then there was some mention of aesthetic treatment of a container to provide sort of a community enhancement. Is that something the applicant's open to?
Yes.
And is that something the city would allow on a metal container?
We would not allow a mural on a metal container, no. The metal container has to be screened from public street.
Okay, so the screening element could potentially be an enhancement to the neighborhood, but
Depends
not
on
the
how it's
container
screened,
itself?
absolutely.
Okay. And the applicant's open to those comments?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I think those are my questions. I will defer back. Any commissioners' second questions? Okay. With that,
We're at the rebuttal.
yes, thank you. I lost my place on the. All right. So we'll now move into a period of rebuttal. This is a 5-minute. This is a 5-minute total time for speakers both in favor and in opposition to the project. Please note this is a 5-minute total speaking time. So if there are multiple speakers, I strongly recommend coming to the front to wait just to mitigate any lost time in circulation. We heard from those in opposition last, so we'll begin the rebuttal period with those speakers in favor of the project. Madam Clerk, thank you for having the clock listed.
So those in favor are those that want the recycling center approved.
Yes. So with that, I will state, is there anyone who wishes to provide rebuttal on this item? If so, be please prepared to step to the podium. As mentioned, each side will only have 5 minutes total time, so make your comments succinctly without repeating remarks of previous speakers to ensure that everyone wishes to provide rebuttal comments has a chance to do so. And I would also note, this will be the last time during the hearing where the applicant or those in opposition will be able to speak freely about their thoughts on the item. So please utilize this time. It's for members of the community. So with that, if there's any speakers in favor of the project, the approval of the recycling center, please step to the microphone. Identify yourself. Please do so again if you've spoken previously. And Madam Clerk, please start the clock when the first speaker begins.
My name is Abner Rivera, Abner Alejandro Cubillas Rivera, and I just would like to say that if we just worry about handling fees, we don't really worry about the community. Like, we know, I know, they might know many other recycling that shares convenience zones, or they are right next to it, around the corner, cross the street. There's like 2 or 3, and I just speak because I see those cases before. And about the neighbors, I know it's your business, but like you have your own business. That's what I want to do too. I want to have opportunities to have my own business too. Like you got employees. You're
Please,
order.
I'm sorry. I should have stated this is a time to address the commission,
Okay.
not members of the audience. Yes,
So
thank you.
I just want to say to him that if that caused any inconvenience for him, I just want to apologize. And I think that's going to be all. And I just want to say thank you. All right?
Thank you. Are there any other speakers in favor? I'd like to provide the opportunity. We have 3. Oh, please continue the clock. The clock doesn't stop. No, it keeps going. Yeah, it keeps going, right?
It stops when the person comes, so they can give them a chance to come down.
Oh, we stopped
Yeah.
during transit? Is that new?
No?
That's definitely new. Yeah, we have not done that previously. That's why I said to come to the front if
We
you wish
probably
to speak.
should have.
Okay, well, thank you for, we're all learning so much tonight. Yeah, that's why. I'm not, yeah, okay. We're a house divided. Okay, seeing no additional speakers in favor, am I correct in seeing no additional speakers? I will close the rebuttal period for those
Wait.
in,
What about those in,
I was saying I will close those speakers in favor and move to
Got
those
it.
in opposition.
okay, you said close, and I thought
Oh
you're
yeah,
gonna
no,
close the
sorry, I
hearing.
used a loaded phrase. My apologies. I will defer to those wishing to provide rebuttal comments in opposition to the project. Again, please step to the microphone, identify yourself, and proceed.
Okay. They say that you can survive or recycle without a handling fees. You not. When you have to pay a worker and you have to pay all the fees that worker needs to be paid, like workers' compensation and all the stuff, the rent and everything, you can afford without the handling fees. Another thing that he say that we leave for homeless, it is not true, because I know they leave for recycling materials, I know that, but they only bring like 2-3 pounds per day. We are giving the service to the community, to the people for their homes. They bring like 20, 30 pounds, 40, 90 pounds, while a homeless, it's only 5 pounds per day. So it is not. And another thing about the convenience zones, the state just changed the convenience zone this 2023 in January, I think so. Before was a half a mile, I was serving the superior groceries, but when they expand to a mile, so I been in the middle of the two, but I was just serving superior groceries. And now I'm serving both, but it's the same. So I can serve both convenience zones. So that's all that I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. I'm a worker for Fuentes Auto Center, the business behind that convenience store. We do believe it is counterintuitive to have a recycling center so close to a residential area, just because we do believe that that traffic would also be going through said neighborhoods, and those neighborhoods are not necessarily gated. So there is, like they said, it does invite more crime for those residents there and their children, all that traffic, you know, the kids, they like to play in the streets. We are a newer business, so we would like the opportunity to grow without being afraid of our customers' vehicles being broken into or any of those issues that might occur if said project isn't denied. Thank you.
Sir, your first and last name?
Jonathan Martinez.
Thank you. Are there?
David Fuentes again from the business that is actually north of that liquor store where they want to open up the recycling center. Somebody had asked about what was there. That's us. That's our business. Earlier I left out that, as he was saying, there's a lot of houses that are right beside my business and around that recycling center and that liquor store that they want to open up. And I got the names and signatures and phone numbers of the people that live there that do not want this recycling center opened. The first one is Mr. and Mrs. Boozy. They reject, and their phone number is 714-330-6183. I'll
If
probably
you
leave the phone
prefer,
numbers
you
out.
can also provide the list as to be included in the record.
Yeah, I'll just say the names. And
Okay.
Rafael Leiva, Juan Abrego, Araceli Torres, and Mr. Bougie. So all of those are opposed to it because they do not want a recycling center around their homes, which is literally right by them. And I have their signatures and phone numbers here. I'm not sure should I give it to.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other speakers in opposition? Seeing no additional rebuttal comments in opposition, I will now close the public hearing on the item and return to the commission for comment and action. Commissioner Neal?
All right. Well, I have a lot of stuff to say. The first thing that I think about when I'm looking at this project, and I know that area, I used to go to that liquor store, which actually sells hair and like for braiding and stuff. So I know that parking lot very well, and that area very well because I also lived in that area as a child. And so, but as a commissioner, what I have to look at is like, is this desirable? Does the community want or need this? If it's something that we are going to give permission, that we're using our discretion, is it in the best interest of the city as a whole and the people that live and work in that community? So that's what we're looking at. The fact that 2 blocks down, the applicant was able to run, although not permitted by the city, a business and actually survive, shows that it is possible for 2 businesses at the same time doing this same work within this convenience zone to both be able to maintain a profitable business. I knew that whatever the fee that you were receiving was, you're still able to maintain a business without it because they were, even though it was not a permitted setup. So to me, that means that there's the community there is looking for those services. Will they walk almost, and I don't know how far it is, or drive to the other one to drop them off? You know, I don't know. And I don't know if we're generating more recycling because we have a second one there or not. I wish we had some data on that. That would be extremely helpful. I know that there's a tendency in that area for people to throw trash and things on the floor. So it definitely is a benefit to the community that someone is there collecting and cans or providing a service where people can collect them. And that helps with cleaning up the neighborhood. But because this business is adjacent to residential, and I'm glad that some 2 speakers spoke on that, because I know that there are houses right there behind it, it's a concern for me, just because what people tend to do, especially homeless, is when you put your bin out for recycling day, go through the neighborhood or go through your trash and dig through it, leaving whatever falls on the trash on the floor. There are people that are more respectful when they're digging and they actually clean it up, but 9 times out of 10, especially in a neighborhood that's not gated, someone mentioned that, or something of that nature, people aren't going to care as much and leave things on the ground. So I definitely I was already thinking about that before you showed the signatures of the few homeowners or occupants of those residences there. But that's a major concern, not just for the ones immediately adjacent, but the whole neighborhood, because it would be easy to just carry those items over, you know, to get money to buy whatever. And so that is definitely a concern for me. The fact that we have a 2045 plan as a city where we want to put some development into that area, I love that we have this Brundage Corridor plan, but that is actually 22 years away. And I'm more concerned about the immediate needs of the community there. And so that kind of had me tending to lean, if it can be screened and look well and be safe, towards, you know, granting the applicant's requests. But that, I guess, favor that I would have for the project is mitigated by the nuisance that it would attract so close to the residential. It concerned me that there's a business back there. We don't know how they get in and out, but I saw a bunch of cars parked back there. And this operation would be pretty much in the middle of that business and the cars coming in and out there and the street. And so that was a concern. That liquor store gets a lot of traffic, and it's quick traffic too. People pull in fast and pull out fast. I know that about that place. And so the traffic and the way that the parking lot is striped, there's no barriers, there's no lanes proposed, there's no screening, you know, all of those things definitely concern me. And it can be, you know, a little bit scary over there sometimes, you know, and so more people hanging out, if that is in fact what might happen, I don't know if that's a good thing for that block or for that area. So those were my concerns. That pretty much covers it. So, you know, I will say that while I would be supportive of another facility, maybe on the other side of Albertsons. That's why I asked the question about that over there, or maybe on that side somewhere, because there doesn't seem to be one on the maps that we have. Maybe a better location. And then the last thing I want to say is that I'm always very pleased when business owners or people just trying to make money and give people jobs, when they do something wrong and then they're corrected or violated, and then they come to the table to do it right. So I congratulate the applicants for being willing to do that, because you have to, in addition to paying whatever fines or whatever you had to lose in that process, you had to pay money to show up here, to be here before us today. So I personally want to thank you for going the proper route to do this. There's a way to do what you want to do. You may have to look in other areas. I'm not in a position right now, based on the information that I have, to actually support the application. But if you come back and you're able to work with staff to kind of mitigate the concerns about screening and traffic and ingress and egress, and you find another location, I would definitely, in that area, maybe on the left side of Albertsons, be towards supporting you in the future. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Neal. Commissioners, my request to speak does not seem to be working, so.
I don't have a button either. I would like to.
Okay, Commissioner Coleman, and then Commissioner Carr, would you? Oh, okay. Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair Cater. First of all, I want to thank both sides for coming and talking tonight. We oftentimes go through some of these things, and one or the other of the parties don't come, and so we can't get their input. So I appreciate input from both sides. I want to first say that, you know, recycling is important, and the city of Bakersfield has demonstrated that it's important to the city. They've implemented this, you know, the curbside recycling programs, and they continue to improve that project. And we're pretty much a pro-business, pro-builder kind of community. And it's not often that the staff will send a recommendation to us to deny an application. They generally work with the applicants to try to come up with a program that they can recommend. But I'll say on this project, I think that this directly conflicts with what the council's goal was in 2018. Their goal was not to approve more recycling centers. They wanted to be sure there was an adequate number of recycling centers in an area, but not to flood the market with recycling areas. When we, especially on this Brundage Lane corridor, because both the Ward 1 and Ward 2 council people, when we discussed the Brundage Lane Navigation Center, opposed that project for this exact reason, because they didn't want to create additional situations where there would be recycling kind of traffic. Homeless people and whoever else might, as not homeless, might be using those businesses. So this was talked about a lot during that discussion. Fortunately, I think for the community, the Navigation Center got approved, and I think that everybody is satisfied with the Navigation Center. But I think the community is really working on that corridor along Brundage Lane and improving the aesthetics and getting new construction. And there has been some new construction along there, and there will be more. But I don't think building another recycling center along there is really what we intended for that corridor. I am concerned about the negative impact on the other business that's had a hardship put on them from the unpermitted operation, and then now will be a permitted operation if that was to be approved. I don't feel that another recycling center is essential, and I don't think it serves the public good. And I certainly don't believe it is in harmony with the objectives of the general plan. So for those reasons, I would make a recommendation to approve the recommendation by staff. And so I don't know how that's stated exactly.
Is it correct in saying denying the application?
Yes.
Yeah.
Denying the CUP.
So a yes would be no, and a no would be yes again?
No. No.
The staff's recommendation is to deny the CUP.
Yeah, so I would make a recommendation to approve staff's recommendation to deny the
CUP.
project.
Correct.
All right,
So we would vote no, just to deny the
if you
project. Vote yes to approve the project.
No.
What? If you vote yes to
You
the
will appeal.
recommendation is to approve staff's recommendation of denying the CUP.
Okay. So it is a yes with the motion being to staff's recommendation.
Correct.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you. I think I made that way more confusing.
So
than-
did we have
All right.
do we have a motion? Because I'm not.
That's my
Is that
motion,
your
that's my motion, and
So the
if
motion
we need to
is-
clarify that.
Okay, so the motion is to approve staff's recommendation to deny the CUP.
Yes, thank you, and that's all, I have no further comments.
Okay. Should we go ahead and vote? Or I do have some comments, but, okay. I will give my comments and then we will, it is my word, yeah. So thank you, everyone that came out tonight. I really appreciate each and every comment. I think we live in a world where over a short period of time, how we use our city and the needs that we have are changing rapidly. And I think being open to new uses and being open to the community and needs, really to me is an important part of how we live together. I do think it's interesting through our conversation to realize that the incentive Cal Recycle program is intended to spread recycling centers where there are none. We're looking at a very urban area, and it's very unlikely that low-density incentive programs would apply in the heart of our city as a city. And so I feel understanding that as an incentive program and not sort of an expectation to me is important. I do think that a CUP, particularly for a use where a council so recently stated, very targeted concern for the aesthetics and the impact on surrounding neighborhoods. I think moving into those uses, applications need to answer a lot of questions and really prove the benefit to the community. What we're looking at tonight, thank you for the images of the different recycling centers, because one thing that stood out to me is that the business of these centers seems to happen on the paving and not on the container themselves. The container is the storage device at the end of the day. How this container is positioned currently on the site, just as an object, seems to me concerning on an arterial street with the two other egresses being at a residential intersection to an arterial street. So just the object alone, to me, gives some concern as far as traffic movement, especially when we're looking at the adjacent use being a liquor store that is very popular in the community and also heavily accessed via vehicle users. To me, the object itself seems questionably placed. And then if you couple with that a dozen people with 4 dozen trash cans, it seems like we are looking at a plan that will create an undesirable intersection. I think, a lot of the recycling centers that you showed that seem to be working in a more orderly fashion were maybe overly parked, overly abundant spaces. And I think Commissioner Corr's question about the chain-linked enclosed area to the west of the convenience store, it seems like this container is being given the main event on a site that's already very impacted, not up to what a modern current site would have for ingress and egress. And I represent Ward 2. I live in downtown, so I think I'm all for deviations from our standards, but I think that, to me, the compelling case of this being well cited as it's currently presented to us just isn't there. I do think the conversation has helped me kind of process through how these centers are needed in our community and how they are benefited. And I think whether you're collecting income off of 5 gallons of trash or 50 gallons of trash, that is not for me to make a judgment on whether that's benefiting those individuals or not. So I really appreciate the education on the neighborhood serving aspect of these centers. I just think the site, for me, as it's currently laid out on a very busy arterial street, kind of falls short of pushing this project into the desirable category and away from the, and so that would be my concern. And with that, I'll ask Commissioner Corr, would you like to say anything, or are you? Not to put you on the spot, I just don't have a speaker button. Yeah.
No. I completely agree with everyone's comment. Yes, we do need more businesses. We do need more recycling facilities. But having a proper traffic plan and then proper parking spaces and then proper chain link fences, that's definitely a need. I'm sure city is willing to work with you guys. But thank you for coming out and then sharing your concerns with us. Thank you.
And I think we've all given our comments, and I think Commissioner Coleman has made a motion. So is there a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Commissioners, just to remind you, the motion is to agree with staff's recommendation and to deny the conditional use.
That's correct.
Commissioners, please cast your votes.
Motion passes with Chair Bashir Tosh and Commissioner Biddle absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
If I may, the appeal.
Oh, yes, please read
appeal.
the appeal. Yes, please do.
So decisions of the commission are subject to appeal by any person that believes they are adversely affected. The appeal must be filed in writing within 10 days from the date of the commission's decision. Appeal must be addressed to the city council and include the appellant's interest in or relationship to the project. Identify the decision appealed and address facts and reasons why the commission's decision should not be upheld.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Agenda item 7, communications.
Does staff have any communication items?
Just note our next meeting will be December 21st because I want to make sure that we are close to the holiday and get in that last meeting. And additionally, we will have a presentation from one of the commissioners tentatively scheduled for that hearing.
Wow, intriguing. All right. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Agenda item 8, commission comments.
Are there any commissioner comments? Any presentation announcements? Just kidding. Commissioner Neal. Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out. One of the things that I appreciate most about this process is when the applicant actually shows up, and you wouldn't believe it, how many people apply for things to be approved and actually don't come and actually engage with us. We're all pretty much volunteers. I pay more for babysitting during this time, then I actually get in a little bit of a stipend for each meeting. So it's only a subsidy towards my childcare costs for being here. But so I'm saying that just to say I appreciate you for showing up on both sides of the issue, because it shows that you take it seriously, that what the city is trying to do and get you to participate in to continue to improve our city. So thank you so much. And for everyone that showed up to comment, I know everybody's probably ready for dinner. So thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Commissioner Neal. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Agenda item 9, adjournment.
This meeting is adjourned at 7:06. Have a great evening.